David Kortje is the founder and director of Night Vision Ministries, as well as a physician who knows what it's like to fight for someone's physical life. But he also knows that the same is true in our spiritual lives, and in the unseen war, David shares his prescription for fighting and winning the battles in our lives. And David, we're so glad that you could be with us today. And so I was kind of looking at the book, and very interesting topic, but I was wondering, how does a physician write about the unseen war?
Yeah, well, as a physician, I've seen a lot of people struggling with a lot of issues. Mm-hmm. And one of the frustrations that I've had is that it seems like when people have stuff come at them, and we all have stuff come at us, it's a pretty regular experience. But when it happens, people tend to get confused, and we begin to forget who we are. And so what happened with the unseen war was God gave me this picture, I feel, of the battle that we're really in, and of helping people understand that there is a much bigger picture around us than just these four walls that seem to be closing in on us.
With that picture that he gave you, it kind of came in an unusual manner for you, didn't it? I understand that you had a kind of a bit of a 4 a.m. wake-up call, as it was.
Yeah, it was a strange experience. Woke up at 4 in the morning about 3 years ago. And I'm not one of those people that do that. Okay? I mean, I hit the bed and my wife's mad because I'm out, and when the alarm goes off, I'm up. And I haven't had a lot of experience of God speaking to me in the middle of the night. So I wake up at 4 in the morning and I can't fall back to sleep, and I try counting sheep, and that works. But I ask God what He has for me. And He takes me out, and I literally sat down on my bathroom floor with a pen, and I felt like He dictated 14 chapter titles. Wow. And it was those 14 chapter titles that then became The Unseen War.
Now, there are probably people watching that would say, well, I don't believe it. I don't think that we're actually in a war that you can't see. So how can you paint a picture to people of what's really going on?
Well, I think the best picture is the movie The Matrix. Mm-hmm. I've called it the gospel package for our generation. And it's such an incredible story because in it we see this man, Thomas Anderson, and he thinks that his life is just about his job. As he meets Morpheus, he understands that there's something much bigger about his world, much larger about who he is. Mm-hmm. And finally he comes to that scene, this incredible scene where he's in the subway. And you remember the picture, he's doing these backflips, and he's fighting his enemy finally. He's finally facing his enemy head on. And he does well. He's well trained, he's had all this training and the teaching, and yet it's not enough. And he finally finds himself in front of that train. And the agent is on top of him. He says, "Do you hear that, Mr. Anderson?" Speaking of the train that's approaching it at speed. He says, "That is the sound of your future. That is the sound of inevitability." And I think we've all heard that. We've all heard that voice saying, that is your future. Mm-hmm. It is inevitable. You will never fill in the blank. You will never succeed as a father, right, or be a good child, or love God enough, or follow through in that ministry He's called you to, or whatever it is. Mm-hmm. We've all heard that sound. And that's the voice of our enemy. And I love that as he's sitting there, he's listening to that, he thinks back, and he remembers the experience he had with the oracle. And you remember the picture, the scene. He's with the oracle, kind of this spiritual leader. She's supposed to tell him who he is. And she looks him over and kind of pushes around on him, looks him over like a horse almost, and says, "Sorry, kid, you're not the one." But she also has a sign hanging over her door. It says, "Naughty Sietum, know thyself." And I wonder if as Neil is sitting there, and he's wondering, he has one of those slow motion experiences when things just suddenly go into very slow motion. He remembers back and he wonders, what if there's more to me than just Thomas Anderson, than just this flesh and bones? And then he stands up and he says, "My name is Neil." Now we've had a similar spiritual leader, right, a similar one. And in 2 Corinthians, Paul tells us, he says, "Therefore, we do not lose heart. Though outwardly the train is racing towards us. Outwardly, it seems like it's inevitable. Outwardly, we are falling apart." He says, yet inwardly, we're being renewed day by day. And he says, so we fix our eyes, he says, not on what is seen, not on this matrix that's around us, but on what is unseen.
Right.
Because what is seen is temporary, but what is unseen is eternal.
Right. So now you had mentioned that voice in the movie. Now, in real life, is that voice the voice of Satan? Is he the one that we're battling?
I mean, he hates us. We have to understand that. He is passionately unhappy with who we are. We were set in this planet, created in the image of God. We now have Christ living in us. We are now the heirs of the kingdom, the very kingdom he wanted to take away. And so he is forever trying to destroy what we have. And we make a mistake. We think the voice is just, bad luck, or it's just, our poor self-esteem, or whatever that is. But the scripture makes it very clear that it is an enemy that is out to get us. Jesus said that I am sending you like sheep among wolves. I didn't come to bring peace. He says, but I've come to bring a sword. A sword is a weapon of warfare, of hand-to-hand combat. And he's telling us that he is sending us into this field, which is a very dangerous field, with an enemy that hates us. And so Peter tells us that our enemy is roaring around like a lion, not looking to frustrate us, not looking to just convince us to eat that extra brownie, but literally to devour us, to tear us apart.
How have you experienced these spiritual attacks in your own life? And perhaps more importantly, how have you been able to fight back?
Yeah, I'm experiencing one right now. 3 weeks ago, I ruptured a disc in the back of my neck. And interesting, it came right before I was doing a men's conference. I had the exact same experience a year ago before the men's conference. The neck started hurting, went away right afterwards. I realized that part of that is sins of my youth, dumb things I did when I was younger, I'm sure, okay? I'm not saying the devil is doing everything, okay?
Right.
But in the midst of that, what does he do? He comes after you, and he convinces you that, David, you ought to just shut up. Why don't you just sit down at home, take a nap, feel better? You don't need to fight for these people. You don't need to be engaging in this battle. Okay? He does that all the time with this spirit of discouragement, the spirit of what God has called you to is not enough. You need to add something to it. And so we see him do it with Jesus, right? When Jesus is being tempted,
sure.
Okay, he's in the desert. He knows his Father has called him to a time of fasting. Satan doesn't deny what God's called him to. He just simply says, yes, but why don't you add something? Add some bread. Eat something. He is forever, I believe, attacking us in the area of saying, God is not enough. You need to add something else to the fight.
Right. Well, when we come back, we're going to find out how you won the battles in your life and how we can win the battle as well. So stay with us. When we come back, we'll have more with David Kortje.